Hey, whippersnappers, this is Tortimer the Great. Welcome back to another exciting episode here on the Tortimer the Great Gaming channel. Today we're doing something a little different than we've generally done in the circumstances that we find ourselves in. Yesterday, a big glut of information was dropped about the upcoming Pokemon games on the Switch, which is something that we've all been very excited about since the Switch came out, and we kind of started theorizing that there was probably going to be a Pokemon game moving to the Switch, especially given the console's ability to be both a home and mobile console. It just kind of made sense that eventually there would be something going that direction. And then several months ago, maybe even a year ago, we got the first announcement that yes, there is Pokemon RPGs being developed for Switch. It was probably about a year ago because it was before Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon came out. And so probably somewhere in that development cycle, we were hearing talks about there is a game coming to the Switch. And so now finally, we have the first announcements of that. And so generally speaking, in this situation, I've never really done like a standalone news speculation video before because I usually have a Pokemon series that's running on its own. And so I will just kind of talk about it there. But for a couple of reasons, we're not going to be doing that this time. One, because I think this is kind of a big, important announcement that I think we want to walk through step by step. And we're going to take a look at the trailer here in a second. I've got it pulled up, and we're just going to kind of watch it and pause and talk about what's happening in that trailer. I've also watched the press conference that preluded these trailers popping up online, where they went into more detail about specifics, about some of the things we're seeing in the trailer. Maybe we'd be speculating about them, but they have cleared up some of that stuff in that press conference. So we're going to be taking a look at that as well. Well, we're going to be talking about those things. I'm not going to be playing the press conference. I'll be linking that in the description, though, if you guys want to go watch the full 45-minute press conference. So, one, I think there's just too much to talk about, and I think it's too important of a step in the Pokemon franchise to kind of just offhand talk about in an episode. But two, and probably the real reason is I have already pre-recorded up to episode 5 of my Pokemon my Pokemon Platinum Random Lock words. I've recorded up to episode 5 of the Pokemon Platinum Random Lock. So, it's going to be a little, and episode 2 just came out today, so it's going to be a little while before we're actually able to talk about this current news in that series. It's going to be several weeks before that's happening. So, I wanted to make sure that we were getting able to just get in here, dig in, and talk about it as it's coming about, because I think there's a lot of exciting things here, and I'd love to just discuss it with you guys. And it seemed like, again, we might even just talk about it in the Discord in some instances too, but I think this makes the most sense. So, with all that said, we're going to just jump right into it. I'm going to play the trailer here, and then as things pop up, we're just going to talk about them, and then pause, move on to the next thing, talk about it, pause, that sort of thing. So, here we go. This is the trailer they've released for the new upcoming games, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. So, here we go. So we've got the Nintendo Switch here, opens up with the Pokemon Go stuff. This game, they've said in other places, is going to be integrated with Pokemon Go. So we've got, it opens up, I love the trailers that they do for this kind of stuff, especially with the Pokemon Go related stuff, where they have got like actual Pokemon in the real world. I love that. So we've got all the logos and stuff popping in here. Pikachu's leading him home, and then it's gonna jump into the TV here in a second. There we go. So now, Pokemon officially coming to the home consoles on Switch. Let's pause here real quick. In fact, let's backtrack just slightly. We can see here a little bit of a graphical change. The last couple of instances of 3D Pokemon has given us a little bit different style, and we'll probably get a better look at the style when we look at the female trainer here in a bit. But this is it's a different toony kind of style that we've been seeing in some of the other 3D Pokemon games. Both of the 3DS games had kind of a similar style. This is a clear departure from that. Pokemon, obviously, are all going to be pretty similar. In fact, you're going to hear in an upcoming Pokemon Platinum Random Lock episode where we were talking about how there's been these finds of all these files that weren't used for previous games and that are probably going to be being used here. So the Pokemon are probably going to look largely the same, but some of the world and people have gotten a little bit of an overhaul. So let's continue on here. We pop into our first look at the overworld. Very similar. We're seeing some of the NPCs here in the bottom, and the world looks pretty much as we would expect a Pokemon world to look. Maybe a little bit of a graphical facelift, things like that. But for the most part, we're looking pretty good here. Again, so you're seeing the Pokemon centers, you're seeing routes back here. Play this. So this, I mean, again, it looks like a Pokemon route, and as I said, this is Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, which means that these, well, that doesn't necessarily mean anything, but what it essentially means, they're remaking Pokemon Yellow. And so we're going to have Pokemon Yellow with 2 different versions, and so it gives us a new Pokemon game. So you're seeing we've got Eevee there, and there's the female trainer. She doesn't look quite as different as I thought the male trainer did, but if we take a look, obviously a little bit different than what we're seeing. Just, I don't know what it is. I think maybe the eyes eyes, it just, something about it screams different than the other 3D models that we've been seeing. So definitely an updated look there. But you're seeing, so the trainer who took the Pikachu had Pikachu right on his shoulder. Eevee rides on your head. My guess is, well, they have said, whatever version you buy, the main difference is going to be if you buy Let's Go Pikachu, your starter's Pikachu. You don't get to say in it. Kind of like in Pokemon Yellow, your starter was just Pikachu. But if you buy Let's Go Eevee, your starter will be Eevee. My guess is, based on Pokemon Yellow, that probably our starters are not going to be able to evolve. So if you're taking Eevee, you're probably going to be stuck with an Eevee. I can't say that for certain, but since you couldn't do that, you couldn't evolve the Pikachu in Pokemon Yellow, I think it's safe to assume, until they say otherwise, that probably these starters are not going to be able to evolve. So let's run through here a little bit. For Nintendo Switch, we got some Professor Oak action, lots of cute shots of Pikachu. Now it's showing us here with one Joy-Con you're playing. So instead of using the Joy-Con, a lot of times you're only using one Joy-Con for these things, but instead of doing it just sideways, you're using it more like a Wiimote. So that draws us back to the Wii age, and we're going to actually see here in a second. It's always use wrist strap while playing, because what you do with this new Wiimote Joy-Con thing is you're kind of getting into the Pokemon Go stuff, where you're flicking your finger to catch the Pokemon. You're not just pressing a button and a Pokeball gets thrown out. You're actually going to physically having to be, at least from everything we're seeing, and it sounds like that's something they really wanted to incorporate, so I don't know that there's going to probably be a workaround with that, which is a little disappointing. I'd love to be able to just take the Switch and play the game, but you're gonna have to set the screen down and be throwing at it, and I don't necessarily love that. I hope that there is a way to do that, more accessibility, because maybe people don't have full use of their arms or something. Hopefully there'll be some kind of accessibility built in where you're not gonna have to necessarily do that, because I just think after a while that's gonna get real old. And I mean, we've all kind of already done this sort of stuff. I remember in Twilight Princess, I feel like you had to use the Wii controls for like the bow, or there were certain things that you had to use it, maybe the sword, and then you had like Wii bowling and stuff. So I mean, we've all kind of already done the motion control thing. Making it a required thing in here almost feels like a step back. But anyway, so that's kind of what's built in. So we're seeing you're finding Pokemon in the wild, you're throwing Pokeballs at them. This looks very much Pokemon Go-esque here. One of the cool things, and we've got to make sure they highlight it here in this trailer. Let's see. So here we go. We've got local co-op. So we're gonna see, she's gonna shake her little Joy-Con, and then another character is gonna pop in here. Now we don't have a lot of details on what this local co-op's gonna look like yet. We do see later on in the trailer here that there is potential for maybe a double battle. But we don't necessarily get to see the few instances that we do see of these two trainers interacting. We'll see right here with this Clefairy, and basically they're both kind of collaborating on catching the one Pokemon, and I think that in the press conference they were almost saying that this is going to give you a better chance to catch those Pokemon. I don't know that like each trainer in the local co-op is really building a team. I feel like you're kind of collaborating on the same team sort of thing, and even in double battles that we're going to see here in a second, it almost seems more like, yeah, so we pop into a double battle here. It's got the Pikachu and that Bulbasaur. I'm not sure if this is the other trainer's Bulbasaur, or if like both people are like, or if the Bulbasaur and Pikachu are part of the same team, and you're just kind of each controlling one or collaborating somehow. I don't know. It hasn't really been super clear. A little later in the trailer, we will see something that gives a bit of a different thought to what potentially might be happening there. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see what that is here in a second. So we do have double battles in here, where presumably each person is going to be able to collaborate in some fashion. Then we're also going to be, they're introducing this Pokeball Plus, and they've got it covered with their graphics here. But essentially, it's a lot like, it's a lot like a lot of things. If you guys remember when Pokemon Go came out, they had that little like Pokeball designed button thing that you could play without having the phone out of your pocket. You could just kind of press it to catch Pokemon, sort of thing. I forget what that thing was called, but they had that, and this is basically just a fancy Joy-Con. From everything I'm seeing, it's a fancy Joy-Con. Basically, you can just, instead of using the Joy-Con to whip and get Pokemon, you hold this thing and whip it to get Pokemon. But it also, in fact, well, it'll show us here in the trailer in a minute. So, hold on, we want to back up here, because this is one of the things that I don't think they highlight a whole lot in this trailer, but that was one of the things that they did talk about in the press conference, and is super exciting, because this is one of the things I've wanted, at least personally, from the Pokemon franchise for a very, very long time. And that is, you can see here, we've got Eradicate up in the top left. We've got a Psyduck, a Pidgey. These games are going to be utilizing open world, overworld Pokemon. So it's no longer at least from what I understand, it's no longer, oh, just walk into tall grass and eventually some random Pokemon will attack you. The Pokemon are going to be visible in the overworld, wandering around it, and you get to choose which Pokemon you want to attack and catch. So it's a lot like Pixelmon in that sense, and that's what I've always kind of wanted. I want these just open world, I know that there's Psyduck found in this area, go find a Psyduck and catch it sort of thing. And so this is really exciting. This is going to add a lot to the world of Pokemon having this here, and I wish they would have highlighted it more in this trailer, but definitely in the press conference they have it, and we might even at the end here pull up some of the footage of the press conference so you guys can see a couple of these really cool things that they're adding that they didn't really highlight super well in the trailer. I mean, it's there, but you don't really necessarily even know what you're looking at unless you've kind of heard from them otherwise. So let's move on. So essentially Psyduck, and then you can just kind of like with the Joy-Con, you've got that Pokeball in your hand. And you can see it's kind of pulsing and stuff, and I think it's got a rumble thing, so you know how the catch is going. But it's also, so you can see here, they're taking their Pikachu. Let's take Pikachu for a stroll. Do you guys remember, and many of you may not, but when I think it was Heart Gold Soul Silver came out, it came with like a little Tamagotchi thing, where you could transfer Pokemon from your game to the Tamagotchi, and you could even encounter wild Pokemon on this little Tamagotchi pocket thing. I've got one somewhere, and I should have looked for it. But basically, imagine a little Tamagotchi that looks kind of like a Pokeball. And essentially, you could encounter wild Pokemon and catch those, and then transfer them back into your game. It seems like this is going to be very similar and potentially integrated with Pokemon Go. Well, no, I think their Pokemon Go integration is a little bit different. We're going to see that here in a second. But essentially, it's like that little Tamagotchi thing, and we'll see. So you take Pikachu, and then you can set Pikachu on your table and pet Pikachu, and it's a little weird. I don't think anybody's going to do that. But here we go. They're highlighting the Pokemon Go integration. So you go catch a Dratini at your local lake, and then you come up here, and you can transfer that Dratini into your Pokemon Switch, or your Pokemon Eevee, Pokemon Pikachu, whatever. But I don't quite know how this is going to work yet. There's in here, the Go Park almost feels to me more like just like a Pal Park sort of thing. Maybe it just might be a little fun. Oh, you could play with that Pokemon thing. But in the press conference, so that's what I originally thought. I originally thought this was going to be something where like the Pokemon don't actually go into the game. It's just going to be kind of a fun thing. You can help you play around with your Pokemon. But in the press conference, there was a moment here when the guy who was doing the Niantic development, they had a little back and forth with a video clip from somebody else on the Niantic team, and basically he had said, oh, my friend John was not doing very well on his Pokemon Eevee run, so I sent him a Dratini or some Pokemon to help him out. So essentially, it does sound like, based on that little dialogue in the press conference, that my original thought of this is just going to be some fun little, you can play with the Pokemon or whatever, is going to be an actual, you can transfer these Pokemon into the game and use them. So that's kind of interesting. I don't know if they're going to, I don't know if they're going to be dumbing down the Pokemon stats in the game, if there's going to be some translation algorithm, if this Dratini is going to be able to be sent back. I believe it actually does show us here later that eventually the Pokemon will get to sent back and forth. But if we continue watching here, so we get this Dratini, it's now here in this park, we've got a Venomoth and Charizard and everything like that, and so this is kind of where I first was kind of like, okay, so these Pokemon, this is just going to be some little like what was the Amity Square or whatever in Sinnoh, where just like all the cute Pokemon, you could just go play a Pokemon. I figured it would be something stupid like that, but it sounds like, based on everything I'm hearing, that it is going to be a usable part of the game. So that's really cool if that does prove to be true. And so you get a present. So sending a present back to Pokemon Go. So I'm assuming this is going to be how they're going to do trading for Pokemon Go. That's one thing that people have always kind of wanted, was trading between Pokemon Go accounts. Like if I got this Squirtle and somebody else needs a Squirtle, you could trade them. I don't think that functionality has ever actually been built into Pokemon Go. But that's something people have always wanted. It seems like almost that's what they're going to be doing with this, is going to be kind of using the Switch as an interim between Pokemon Go accounts. Probably that's just to do money. I don't know, but that's how they're going to be doing it. It works for me because I'm going to be having both systems, but that may alienate some of the Niantic Pokemon Go players because, well, now I've got to buy a Switch to do some functionality that you probably could easily do on the phone, but I still think it's kind of cool. So, and then we kind of just get in here. Okay, so hold on, let's back up here. Let's back up a little bit. So we see here, you're riding an Onix. All right, you're riding a Lapras. The Lapras is not all that different. We've had a lot of the ride Pokemon in Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, and Sumo and all that. So that's not totally strange, except for the implication that they gave, and you can see here we've got Nidoking and Nidoqueen following behind them as well. The implication that they gave in the press conference is, one, Pokemon following behind you is absolutely coming back. So, we've talked in the past, and I think this is what's going to be coming up in a future Pokemon Random Lock episode that I recorded, was they had all of these models that they found in the Pokemon Sun and Moon game files. And basically they were animated walking forms of every Pokemon that existed. What I had said was, well, obviously, and what a lot of people are saying is, obviously they didn't create these for no reason. They probably had intended to add Pokemon following behind you into Ultra Sun and Pokemon Sun and Moon Gen 7. Gen 7. But the handheld systems just did not have the processing power to do it. And we've already seen that, where the processing power of the 3DS, especially like if you guys watch my series, I have an older version 3DS. My 3DS could barely even, there was a lot of lag. It was barely keeping up with the game as it was. So to add in another processing thing that's going to tax the processing power of the system just wasn't going to work. They probably had to scrap that. But clearly they're bringing back in following Pokemon, and they've said as much in the press conference. So we get to kind of guess about it here. Oh, maybe this is just some special event thing or whatever. But no, they have clearly said Pokemon following behind you is coming back. And the implication that they had in the press conference was that this Onix and Lapras and Charizard are just members of your team. That larger Pokemon that you would have the ability to potentially ride. Like Onix, having an Onix following behind you is kind of nuts. So if you have your Onix in that first slot, then you're going to be, riding the Onix instead, sort of thing. Now, these may just prove to be HM Pokemon. If you use Fly, then you could do that. But basically, you can see this Charizard is not zipping from one point to another. He's just kind of going along the route on this Charizard. And so the implication being that it's going to be your own Pokemon, which I think is going to be awesome. That is super exciting, because I like the Pokemon ride thing. It's like, but like, why do I have this random Charizard? Why can't I fly on my Toucannon or something? Like, I think it's cool that your own team's Pokemon, you're going to be getting more real-world interaction with these Pokemon. So I think that's awesome. So again, it's Onix, Lapras, Charizard. We've got the Nidoking following behind. Here again, we see they've got the Gengar and Electrode following behind. They're over here on, I think this is Route 18 over basically the Cycling Road area. Maybe it's on the other side of Fuchsia. It looks like that kind of area, though. It's probably the other side if you should look at the water on the one side there. So, but essentially, one, we can see, so this is kind of a counter argument to my previous point of, well, how is the local co-op going to work? Are they collaborating on the same battle, something? Is that Bulbasaur and Pikachu on the same team? Clearly, we're seeing here we've got co-op going on, and each trainer has a Pokemon following behind them. So, I don't know how that's going to work. If you can, like, connect your specific save file, like if I've got to switch and then they've got to switch, if somehow we can connect those so that their Pokemon get brought in, I don't know how that's going to work. That's going to be something that's going to be very interesting to figure out how they're going to handle. And obviously, I don't think they've got all the answers yet necessarily themselves. Probably most of that has been figured out, but we're going to kind of see how that plays out here going forward. But that's very exciting. Not only is Pokemon Falling Behind You confirmed, but we've also got this co-op, and each of them have a Pokemon. So we could be very likely looking at, real kind of interactive co-op here. I think we might be able to battle each other, things like that they said at some point. So this is going to be very interesting to see how it plays. If like that person's, the boy here's got the Pikachu. So my guess is that the female trainer here is the person who's been brought into the game. Is she only going to be able to make progress when she's tapped in locally with me? I don't know how that's going to work, but something very interesting to be thinking about here. So then we've got the integration here. So Moltres comes into the Go Park, Abra, and all these Pokemon getting caught. Again, both players catching Pokemon at the same time. I don't know if they're each going to get a copy of that Haunter or Clefairy or whatever we've seen in the trailer, or if that's just it. It almost sounded like they were talking how it's just going to up your chances of being able to catch it, sort of thing. So we'll see how that plays out as well. Again, you could dress up your partner here. Dressing up Pokemon always kind of weirds me out, so we'll probably won't be playing around with that. You got Team Rocket stuff here, so we'll be battling the evil team. Another better look at the male trainer there in full form. So a little more cartoony style there. Again, you see the Eevee wearing a ball cap and pants in the battle. I do kind of like that Pikachu with the hat on. That's cute. So yeah, you see the Eevee and the Pikachu both using their Pokemon there. And so basically, a lot of stuff happening here. It does look like, obviously, we're going to be using the same formula as we've used in every other Pokemon game. So those of us who are kind of hoping for a big open world thing, we're getting a little bit of that. Obviously, the Pokemon are going to be in the overworld. You're going to be able to go look for those specific Pokemon. So that's really exciting. So we're not getting everything. It's still going to be a structured world, not really open sandbox like some of us were kind of hoping. But one of the things they did say in this press conference is, well, these Pokemon Yellow remakes are coming out, which is really going to make the Sinnoh people mad. I feel like people are so desperate for Sinnoh remakes for some reason. I don't understand it, but there are people who those were maybe their first games and they've got a huge amount of nostalgia for them. And so for generations they've just been waiting for the Sinnoh remakes, and it's just never going to happen, guys. You're never going to get those. But Pokemon Yellow remakes, it's going to be set in Kanto. I don't know if we're going to be able to expand to Johto and things like that. Some of the rumors that have been coming out for the last couple of weeks, there have been rumors about this Pokemon Pikachu and Eevee versions that are coming out. And there's been other things, and so since that's been proven true, there are other things that have kind of been talked about that maybe have potential to be true. But with any of these rumors, there's always crap sprinkled in so that, probably they don't get caught or whatever, but or to just hype it a little bit more. There was talks about, maybe Kanto has been devastated by something, and so the region itself is going to be a little bit different than previously seen. Maybe like the lower half of the region has been covered in water or something is one of the things they talked about, and how a lot of these southern, especially southeasternly section of the region might be more islandy type of than previously seen. Stuff like that. Maybe Kanto will be more interesting. It did seem like maybe Johto will be in the mix, so maybe it'll be kind of like Pokemon Gold and Silver where you have access to both regions. I think that would be awesome. That was one of my favorite things about the second gen games, both them and their remakes, was just the fact that you have access to both regions. That's one of my favorite things that's ever been in Pokemon. So we're combining a lot of really cool stuff here. I'm really excited to see where a lot of this is going. I don't think there's a lot more real information here. It's just kind of play testing, going up against the Mewtwo, your first adventure in a new style, I think is what it says. Yeah. And so we've got the Pokemon, and so this is just some more of this. But essentially, we've got Pokemon following behind us again. We've got local co-op, which is really interesting. Obviously, most people these days who are in the gaming realm probably aren't going to have a lot of opportunity to do local co-op. Maybe brothers and sisters. I mean, obviously, these games are mostly for kids, right? So, there probably will be a lot of people who get a lot of use out of that. Unfortunately, me and Klungar aren't going to be able to play together because, at least not like directly in the world. I'm sure there's going to be, like with every Pokemon game, online ability to battle, which will be cool. But Klungar aren't going to be able to MMO style run around the world together because, we live in different states now. We're grown men, at least on the outside. So, basically, we've got a lot of things coming, some questions that still need to be answered, but the Pokemon following behind you thing, how it's taken us, this long to get back to that, I don't know, but it's super exciting to see. The local co-op thing is going to be pretty interesting. I like the look of the world. I'm hoping that it's not as bogged down with a lot of the dialogue and stuff that we've seen in some more recent Pokemon games, and it's not just as hand-holdy. Hopefully, if they're remaking Gen 1 Pokemon Yellow, it's just kind of remaking Gen 1 Pokemon Yellow, and you can just kind of explore and do your own thing. I really hope it's not too bogged down with stuff. We didn't see a lot of dialogue stuff happening in this trailer. Obviously, it's just to get us kind of hyped. We'll see what kind of comes out in the future here, but they have said, I don't know if I talked about this, but they have said that Gen 8 is coming, but not until 2019. So basically, it seems like Pokemon games always come out in the October-November time frame. And so they say the second half of 2019, so probably, November time frame next year, we'll be looking at Gen 8, which is going to work perfect for my Pokeath'locke. But it does mean that that these are going to be just kind of to tide us over until then. They did also have the Pokemon Quest game that looks like it's going to be like kind of a mobile game. It's a free game, I think they said, on Switch, and it'll be coming to mobile before too long. That looks like a fun, cutesy kind of game. It doesn't look like anything I'm probably going to play around with too much. Maybe I'll download it when it comes to phones and mess around with it a bit. But this is super exciting to me. Pokemon Yellow is one of my favorite games. I really loved it when we did the Dice Lock. The access to get the option to get access to all the starters and the different changes. Because I'm sure they're going to change this. I'm sure it's going to be more like some of the later games where you've got more of a mix of Pokemon. Probably because they've got the walking models for all 800 Pokemon or whatever built in that they did. So probably we're going to have access to more than just the original 151. At the very least, I would like to see some Johto Pokemon mixed in. But we'll kind of see how that plays around. One thing we do see here at the very end of the trailer, which is interesting. So we've got Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. Both very cute logos. And you kind of have to decide which starter you want for which one you want to get. And then here, we've got, you'll meet a special Pokemon. And so they're transferring a Pokemon from the Switch to the Go here. But the implication being that there are going to be at least one Pokemon, and they even said this in pre-conference, this is a Pokemon that you've never seen before. So chances are, my guess would be this is a new evolution, because with the new Pokemon movie coming out and stuff, there's been a lot of talk. There's an Eevee very prominently in the new Pokemon movie. Chances are there's going to be a new evolution that's included in that. At least that's what a lot of people are thinking. So my guess is this new Pokemon they're teasing is probably a new evolution, but we can't really know until we start hearing more. There's a lot of rumors out there, but whether or not any of them are worth listening to is a totally separate thing. So I kind of like to wait until there's more concrete stuff, and this is obviously the most concrete stuff we've had in a very long time. So yeah, very excited. New Pokemon, at least one announced, and so we obviously just get the very tease here. It's available November 16th, 2018, and then the Pokeball Plus as well comes out at that same time, I believe. So. They listed in the press conference the costs of these things both of these, the date is the same for both of these, both the Pokeball Plus and the Pikachu and Eevee games. Yeah, the cost is probably going to be typical for anything. Sounded like they listed the cost in Japanese yen or whatever the Japanese currency is in the press conference, and it was like 50,000 and 40-some thousand. So my guess is that's gonna be the standard $50 and probably like $30 or $40 for the Pokeball thing. So yeah, so that's basically it, guys. There were some more details in the press conference. I think I've covered most of what they talked about, but basically the highlights: you've got the local co-op, you've got the Pokemon following behind you, which is music to my ears. We're remaking Pokemon Yellow. You've got your choice of starters here. Basically, make your choice before you buy your game, because that's basically what you're going to be going with. I'm probably going. I probably would go. Let's go Pikachu, if I'm being honest. Especially if we. I'll wait for confirmation on this, but if it comes out that the Eevee cannot evolve, I can't see myself wanting to use just an Eevee for the entire course of the game. Now, in Pokemon Yellow, Gary's Eevee did evolve, so maybe the Eevee is going to be possible to evolve. Maybe even the Pikachu this time will be possible to evolve. We're going to kind of have to wait and see. But that'll kind of color my thing. If it's potential for that Eevee to evolve, and if there is a new evolution, I might go Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. I'm going to kind of have to wait and reserve judgment for that, probably. But I'm pretty excited for this. More excited for this than I've been for most other remakes, and it probably, I'm more excited for it than I should be. But it does mean I need to update my donation goal, and we need to start raising that money for the Switch. So, but yeah, I was kind of hoping. I got what I wanted, which is Gen 8 is pushed out until next year. That's really what I wanted, because I want them to take the time they need to make that game great, and so. I'm excited. We've got these remakes coming, and are going to tide us over until then. But yeah, let me know what you guys are thinking. Have you guys watched the press conference? If you haven't, go do that. I think there's a lot of good information there, especially if you're interested in this Pokemon community. If you're a member of my community and you're talking with me in Discord and stuff like that, I think it's something that you'd probably really be interested in. I watched it at double speed on YouTube, and it kind of really sped through. So. Yeah, take a look at that, and go watch through the trailer one full time, and just kind of see everything for yourself. I think I kind of covered everything we could see, but being able to ride your own Pokemon is super exciting. The Pokemon following behind you, the co-op. Those are really the main big things that I'm remembering, at least right now. So, but those are enough to get me excited and enough for me to push up my purchase. Although I was kind of planning on getting a Switch this fall anyway, but this definitely seals it. So, yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you'd like to see more of these kind of speculation, trailer breakdown sort of things, let me know in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts are on these games coming up, and let me know if you think this is something you'd like to see from me more as we go forward. Obviously, there's not a ton of opportunity to do stuff like this necessarily, but we can talk about whatever you guys would like to do. So this is something new that we're trying. Let me know what you guys are thinking on it, and I'll see you guys back here next time. Anyway, guys, I've been Tortimer, and you guys have been great, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments on what you think of this, what you think of the games, all that kind of stuff. I can't wait to get into a discourse with you guys on all that. So thank you guys so much for watching. I've been Tortimer, and you guys have been great. Have a good one.